Let's speak to Nina Schick. She's from the European Policy Analyst at Open Europe. Thanks for joining us on the News Hour. Just first, give me your take on the list of reforms that David Cameron outlined.
Well, for those of us who've been following this debate for a while, this is nothing new. It's not unexpected. We knew that Cameron had these 4 baskets of reform that he wanted to negotiate with his EU partners. What's new today is that he's actually put it in a formal letter and sent it to the European Council President. So formally, the political negotiations are now officially underway, although the technical discussions have been going on for months. And as soon as Cameron came to power in May, unexpectedly winning a majority, one of the first things he did was do a tour of all the EU 27 capitals to push forward his reform agenda.
And Nina, when you just look at one of the objectives, and that is the restricting access for migrant workers to government benefits such as tax credits. Now, according to reports in the UK, the European Commission has already come out and said that the Prime Minister's plan to ban EU migrants from claiming these benefits counts as direct discrimination between EU citizens. What do you make of that response?
Well, that is obviously the area where Cameron will face the most challenges. However, he put this idea forward precisely because he did not want to undermine the principle of free movement, which is fundamental to the EU. But basically, because the benefit system in the UK is universal, that's not to say it's the most generous, but that if you come here as an EU migrant worker, you immediately have access to the EU's welfare system. What Cameron is trying to say is that in order to access the UK's welfare system, you have to contribute before you take out. Now, this is the case in other EU countries. So although it's going to be difficult, on principle, national welfare should be something that's decided in each individual welfare state and not at Brussels level. So I think it's going to be difficult, but if Cameron doesn't get something there, it's going to be tricky to convince the electorate to vote in favour of the reform programme.
Well, I wanted to ask you about domestically how all of this sort of impacts Cameron.
Well, obviously, it's tremendously important. The issue of the UK's EU membership is an existential question that has been debated in the UK for over 40 years. So this referendum is a time to put that to rest, perhaps, depending on how far-reaching the reform programme is. Already the in and the out campaigns in the UK have mobilised. It's going to be an extremely heated debate, one where passions run high, and one that we'll be hearing a lot from. I think whether or not the public is convinced to stay in really ultimately depends on what Cameron is able to come back from Brussels with. If he comes back with nothing and presents it as a great victory, I don't think the British public is going to buy that. They're already skeptical, and they want things in the...
Oh, I do apologize. We seem to have lost our connection with Nina Schick from London.